You're listening to Speaking Stellar Girl with Teri Tkachuk, an interview series that inspires women to live their most stellar life. Teri is the co-founder of the Stellar Girl movement, and she is sitting down with women all over the world to hear about the key moments in their lives and how they lived boldly, compassionately, and ultimately became a stellar girl.
Welcome to Speaking Stellar Girl. I'm your host, Teri Tkachuk, and I'm thrilled today to have Elaine Turner joining me. Elaine was the original retail maven, having launched her own lifestyle and retail brand. But in the year 2000, life took a turn. So she closed a bunch of her stores, and she's here today to talk all about your innate worth and what we all as women need to feel and talk about. And I'm so thrilled to have her on Stellar Girl. And I just want to talk all about Elaine Turner today. So let's get started.
Thank you so much.
Well, I just wanted to start off by, hearing more about your journey. Obviously, you had 8 stores. They closed, I believe, correct me, in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So you started your brand, your retail fashion business in the year 2000.
Yes, that's
and
right.
You had quite an amazing journey. So tell me where all of your stores were. Let's back up a little.
Yeah. So we were primarily a Texas brand. We did have a couple of I call them sort of marketing pop-up shops. We did one in New York for a year, and we also did something in Nashville, but primarily our footprint was Texans, and we were in all the major cities in Texas. I mean, I'm born and bred Texan, so it just all made sense. And our sensibility, we really built an accessible fashion lifestyle brand that was really all about kind of that bold Texas spirit. So we weren't afraid of color, very feminine, but also I like to look at it as a little effortless glamour was that's kind of how we coined ourselves. We weren't uptight, and we didn't take ourselves too seriously, but we were all about the individual, all about women really defining themselves in a way where they sort of took fashion as an accent to who they already were, right? Not trying to change women, not trying to change their innate individuality, but using our brand as a way to just sort of even just add to that, right? And just being more of who they are. So that was really what we were about. We were all about feeling beautiful inside and out.
That is awesome. I absolutely love that, because that is what we all need more of these days as well. So I want to just touch on, in 2019, when you decided to, close your last store and email your 50,000 clients that are loyal to you and your brand and the shopping experience that you provided so well. I know that you're very well known in Texas. Everyone's like, Elaine Turner. I'm like, yep, I've heard of her. And I'm from Canada, and I've heard of her because I'm a shopaholic. So I loved that. But I mean, to close your stores after, 8 or 9 years, how did you feel? How did you and your husband feel? How did your family feel? And, what have you done to turn around since?
No, I'm just so honored you would ask me, because I'm all about truth telling and vulnerability and not being afraid to share the whole story and not feeling like that we have to present a sort of glossed over shiny version of the truth. And the reality was I had owned the company, with my husband, my sweet husband, for 20 years. And it was a huge dream for me. I mean, it was a dream. And about 8 years in, he came on to help me and run it from a managerial financial perspective. But it was a huge shift for me. I mean, the one thing I will say is that we had about 3 or 4 years leading up to the actual closure that we realized, like, this is becoming really tough, like really challenging environment where brick and mortar was really shifting, and people were really going to ease and convenience and digital shopping and wanting to experience and engage in consumer goods in a completely different way. It was really not about the experience anymore. It was really about the ease of it. And so we had some warning and time to kind of reevaluate our perspective and reevaluate how we were engaging with the business. But at the same time, once we really got to that place of, okay, are we going to really just transfer this whole thing digitally, or are you going to hit a huge reset button? Because my husband at that time had kind of kind of moved on into a different sector and really kind of recreated himself. And I was going to just take it all digitally and just kind of try to make it work. And what happened at that point was my daughter, who has special needs, was entering those teen years, and my older son had just moved to college. And just to be completely vulnerable and transparent with you, I just sort of hit this wall where I was like, you know what, I can't keep going the way I've been going and hustle for my worthiness the way that I had through this business. The challenge of the business, instead of me kind of taking a step back from that, I hustle more and more and more and just, I'm going to fix this. I mean, I'm a woman, right? I'm going to make it work. I'm going to fix it. I'm not going to, I'm not going to lose it, or I'm not going to fail. And what happened was, when I really realized that I had hit that wall, that I needed to take a step back, it allowed me to kind of allow all that fear of what my biggest fear of what was happening did happen, where I realized I can't really do this anymore the way that I want to. I can't engage in this business in the way that I wanted to. It allowed me about 1.5 years of a complete self-discovery reset mode.
You reinvented yourself.
Yeah. And who I am, and allowing those wounds to surface and really kind of work through. I felt like what happened and what was revealed to me, Teri, through this huge shift, was I questioned who I was. So who am I if I'm not the designer, right? And then you realize, well, I'm not my company. I'm a human soul being, on the earth, put here for a purpose. And it's not just, to be a designer. And so I had to go through this whole shift of redefining and understanding that my worth is real and whole, regardless of everything that happens outside of me, and so much that I don't have control over. And that took me a while, but it was also probably the most healing, profound experience for me to go through, to realize that I know that I am worthy outside of my failures, outside of my accomplishments, outside of what other people think of me, outside of expectations, that I know that I'm sourced from a place of abundance, not lack.
Absolutely. That mindset is so powerful. And it took you to a different place. It took you to a reinvention of what Elaine Turner is no longer, a name outside of a store. It's what she found inside. And that's stellar girl. So,
that's a good
yes. So what is what is the goal that that you're worth it? Like, what did you set for yourself to say, okay, how do I feel worthy?
I think that our journey, I think it's a universal truth, if you will, that women especially feel like that if they meet outside expectations, if they people please, if they reach some unreachable idea of perfectionism, if they do all of these things and they're the perfect girl, if you will, that they're worthy. But I think what we have to do as a society is to completely upend that and shift that and flip that, on itself, and say, I know it's our natural sort of molecular DNA way of being in the world as women, is that if I just do it right, then I am whole. But really, it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with doing it right. It has to do with knowing that you're free to fall, you're free to stumble, you're free to fail, knowing that if you adopt this perspective, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of self-awareness, and I had to go through that, take this perspective of, if I know that I'm sourced from a place of wholeness, then I know that I can engage in the world and with other people from that place of knowing I'm essentially enough, right? And I'm essentially good. So really, regardless of what happens within our relationships, within our careers, within, even our health, like if we have a hard diagnosis, we know that we're sourced from a sense of, and you can kind of bridge some spirituality in here.
Yes.
And talk about, that we are made in the image of God. And I totally respect everybody's version of God and everybody's idea of what that faith looks like. But if you have a larger, grander idea of that, there's something more going on here, then you can almost sort of surrender yourself to that idea that, and I know that my soul was here placed for a purpose and essentially good and enough. And then everything in your life shifts. So then when you know that, you're not so attached to the outcome of everything. It doesn't mean you don't work hard. It doesn't mean you're not trying really hard. It just means you're trying hard from a place of grace.
That's beautiful. Very well said. That's beautiful. You have, so you turned you took this pivot, and then now you have a self-worth program. You have a community on Instagram, or almost, I think you're almost like 15,000 followers, but it's what's interesting about numbers as I'm finding out it, but your engagement with your followers, like how many people talk about your posts, share them, comment on them. You're not just posting for the sake of an audience. You actually have your audience captured, and that is fantastic. So let's talk about your Worth program.
Okay. Well, what happened was after I kind of took a step back, I started thinking about, okay, if all of this is happening, then what is it in my life, instead of looking at my skill set, or my resume or my achievements, like, who is it that I'm here to serve, right? Like, who is it? Like, I started looking at my life through a new lens and started asking myself those questions of like, who am I? What is my offering? And what community can I support? Can I be completely stripped down raw into who I am? And that has, to be honest with you, always been women. It's just the packaging is a little different now, rather than through fashion, and fashion sort of allowing, empowering women to feel beautiful inside and out. I've kind of shifted that more towards this personal growth and evolution of educating, inspiring, and connecting with other women through the wisdom and insight and experiences that I've been through. But I don't think fashion's forever dead for me. I think that eventually fashion will become more incorporated in my platform, maybe in a smaller way, but still creating and offering women products that allow them to feel empowered and individualistic in their own way. I do think that that's in the future for me. But yeah, the package is now creating these online courses and doing in-person workshops through a program called Know Your Worth, which is a it's like a 3-part series framework. And the series is Discover, Awaken, and Manifest. And it's basically, I walk people through a guide of, educating them on what I've learned. I also use a lot of my personal experiences, and then I give them really practical tools to incorporate into their daily life that can support them and aid them in discovering that worth journey. Because it's not something that happens overnight, right? No. It's a practice. It's like something that you have to shift your mindset towards, I am enough. And so I work with them through tools. And
I think that is so incredibly important, because you see these posts on Instagram, the motivational posts, the inspirational posts, you're told how to feel, you're told what to do. But no one actually, if you're in that spot of not having that self-worth and not being able to express yourself and not being able to say, I am enough.
Right.
Well, you're reading all this stuff, but what do you do to fix it?
Right.
What do you, and so the tools, and then manifesting those guidelines that you provide, are so incredibly important. Whether, your tools are meditation and self-care, being healthier, all of those things are so important, because we get all this stuff like thrown at you. You can find anything you want on your fingertips.
Right. And I think there's something really, and I think intentions are mostly really positive from people, but
of course.
Yeah, there's a lot of just, I'll talk it to death. But really, have you ever thought about in your life when you've really gone through healing or needed, talking can only get you so far. And so you have to really start to feel it and do it, right? Mm-hmm. And so the whole like quotes posted and you should, you're enough. But really, you're right. We need to take down an extra layer of like, okay, that all is great, but how? How do I? And I believe so much that, we can act our way into feeling better. We can't really talk our way into feeling better. And so that's kind of where I get into some of that. I get granular with them. Like, okay, let's really talk about what could your self-care look like? What's your personal routine? Let's get real individualistic and real customized, because self-care is not a one-size-fits-all model, and finding your worth is not a one-size. 100%. So I also do a lot of one-on-one where I'm like, let's talk about what are those spaces in your life where you you feel a sense of freedom, where you feel more whole, you feel more integrated with who you really are. And then we can kind of create that for you. I mean, it might be, you know, something creative mixed with fast walking. It doesn't have to, everybody's different. You know, somebody's might be more intense, like Orange Theory, you know, exercise, but you know, it doesn't matter. There's no judgment. And I think that there's a lot of justification in some of the criticisms out there in the personal growth industry of sort of this toxic positivity of just like, oh, you know, everything's all good. Like you got to feel good vibes. Like if you don't feel good vibes, it's kind of your fault. Well, no, that's not the world. It's not about, you don't heal through, oh, you just need to feel good vibes. You know, you have to practice and really be okay and own the bad vibes too, to get through to who you really are, because those feelings are there for a reason, Teri. You know, we have pain for
everyone has a story. Everyone started somewhere. Everyone has a journey. Everyone heals differently. Everyone feels differently. And so at Stellar Girl, that's what we talk about as well. We say, okay, yes, let's have a Stellar Girl mindset in this lifestyle. And so do you. But in order to get there, what's going to fix you? So first you start with yourself. Platform for other women and girls is not about a celebrity. It's about nurses, doctors, moms, business owners, people who have, you know, strong causes, foundations, authors, people that need somewhere to go that is not polarizing. It's everyone's got started somewhere. Everyone has their story to tell. And how do we tell that story? So, you know, I'm able to tell your story and share it. And so hopefully, you know, there'll be hundreds of women that will listen and feel like, okay, I'm going to go talk to Elaine Turner. I'm going to go follow her on Instagram, see what she has to offer. I'm going to go join Stellar Girl. I'm going to go join something that makes them feel part of a community and start their healing. And I find other women make me feel like better. Like we champion each other. So with that said, you know, how do you think we can better champion women?
I think one of the biggest, and the word that comes to mind for me, is acceptance. I think that as much as that there's a lot of talk about there of champion women, I do think that women can be still trained in that way of, if you just hustle more, or if you just act more like a man, or if you, I mean, I hate, you know, I don't want to be negative on your program, but you know, we see people with 3 million followers who are saying this stuff and saying, if you just lean in more, if you do this, if you do, and I just feel like, can we just take off all of that scaffolding and just say, no, actually, I just want to show up and meet you right where you are, and know that your value is inherent. And there is no shame. And if you're pivoting or you're plateauing or you're taking a step back, you know, I've had to take, you know, just being like, I'm all about like telling the truth. I've had to take 2 months where I've taken a step back just because I'm going through a little bit of a crisis in my personal life with my parents' illness and my daughter. And that's okay. And every day morning I wake up and say, you know, I was kind of on this groove with Know Your Worth. And I've had to kind of say, okay, I'll launch that again in late summer. And instead I was going to do it this spring because I've had to do that for myself and my family. Well, that doesn't mean that I'm quitting or I'm not, or that I'm a failure. That just means I'm honoring the wholeness of my life and my soul and my needs and priorities. And I just think for women, how you champion women is you allow them to be human, and you allow them. Women have so much expectation, Teri, but I mean, we don't like to talk about it. I'm not going to male bash, but we are expected to be, think about it, in politics, how horrible we are to women. I mean, you know, we are expected to be perfect, and it's still there. It's still out there. And I think that until that shifts, and until we start seeing women as human beings and as people who are flawed and who are completely trying, and I just think that there's so much pressure on women that's needless. And I think that's why a lot of women you see take step backs and go, you know what, I guess I can't do it all. you see that, and I think that they've had to redefine what having it all looks like for them. They've had to completely shift what that really means to them, because I think that when they go out there and the cultural norms and ideals of how we treat women, it's still really hard. It's still really hard to be the mom and be the CEO in the corner office and be all these things and be the nurturer of the family, because the systems aren't really built for that. So my answer to your question is, the way that we really engage and accept and love and support other women is like platforms, like accepting women as they are to join you. And it's inclusive and it's transparent and it's vulnerable and it's real. That's how we love women.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Real, authentic, bold, gold. We're powerful. And it's difficult to step back and look at your life and go, okay, like, holy cow. Like I was just saying, we've got 15 plates juggling in the air, and if one falls down, right, they're all just going to keep going.
I know.
Right?
I know. And sometimes you have to allow occasionally to put a plate down and really look at yourself and ask yourself, what is it in life that I'm supposed to carry? And what is it in life that I need to put down? And as we know, we have different seasons in our life, just like you have, your season and with all your beautiful children and your marriage and all that and your business. But there's certain seasons where you ask yourself that. I ask myself that all the time. What's mine to carry and what's mine to put down? And I think that's a lot of women, I think, are afraid to ask that because they think they should carry it all.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's grace, just giving yourself grace and knowing, all you can do is show up, do your best every day and own who you are. It's not about hustling more. It's not about being perfect. It's not about losing weight. It's not. It's just
I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to put down a plate.
Oh, good.
I'm going to have 14 plates, not 15 plates in the air. Maybe I'll even have 10 plates tomorrow. And put those away, and they're not going to be spinning. They're going to be put down.
Yeah, I'm putting this one down.
Yep. And then that will make, me happier. It'll make the kids happier. It'll make, I really try to practice patience, because I find myself, as you are, working mom, having your daughter with special needs, with having to take care of so many things in your life. And you're also taking care of a lot of people. So you're getting a lot of your energy is like being filtered in this funnel of giving, right? And what are you getting back from that?
Right.
So I always have to say, like, okay, patience is my key word today. Like, I have to have more of that, so that's going to be my plate. And then put down the other ones that aren't going to serve me today. Right. And every day is different, and it's going to change every moment
and every season.
Yeah. And, people can have bad moments. I just think that we could all just shine our own, like we have our own glow, we have our own time. Right. And, it's just, and with this pandemic and everything and the shutdowns that have happened, I think our self-worth and how we look at life mentally and physically, how we take care of ourselves is just so important.
I totally agree. And I think COVID, if there's anything that has happened through COVID, it's allowing us, it's almost like, I like to say, like through COVID, you couldn't really cope your way out of the shit, right? You had to like deal with your crap because COVID stopped everything.
Yes.
And so you saw a lot of people's lives start to become shedding, sort of the things weren't working for them. And I think there's a lot of beauty in that. It's completely painful, but on the journey of your soul, that's a big part of it, is shedding and sort of unbecoming. I like to use that word, unbecoming once you unbecome, I think the true essence of who you are is to be found. And I think we're so busy kind of circling around and doing and trying to figure out and like, okay, well, we're going to, cope our way through all these things and achieve. And then all of a sudden COVID hit and we're like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to have to deal with what's right in front of me. And so that's okay though. No matter how painful, it's okay.
Yeah. Do you practice a lot of self-care because you're giving out so much? Is there something special you like a bath, a candle, a walk? Is there something that you practice?
Yeah, I mean, my self-care, the core of my self-care practice is really about quiet stillness contemplation, and it can be 5 minutes. That's the thing, I'm real about being relatable. This is not about I'm going to go meditate and
take for 25 minutes and
that's not realistic. I mean, I'm dealing with so much, so are you, but I have to find a space. And a lot of times, like yesterday, it was in the car. I got real tired. I had a really hard conversation with one of my parents' doctors, and I pulled over and I got a Diet Coke, and I just had this stillness. When I kind of came to, I journaled a little bit. I always carry a notebook with me wherever I go. And I journaled about kind of what I'm feeling and what those contradictions exist inside of me and what that looks like. So mine is really around that. And then it's also around incorporating my body into my healing. Now, when I say that, I'm not talking about necessarily intense workouts. I think those are really valid too. But it's about really tuning into the power of my body, and that my body plays a role in how I excavate wounds, how I excavate how I'm really feeling. So I do a lot of restorative yoga. And I do a lot of fast walking too.
Yes. I love a good power walk.
Yeah.
And a little Melissa Wood health in my life too sometimes. You know, she's like, I have 12 minutes today. Do you have 12 minutes? I'm like, sure, I'm going to go find 12 minutes.
No, that's right. 12 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, sometimes longer, sometimes maybe 6, but you know, we'll find that happy medium for sure.
Right.
So I always say like, we miss fun, and not just because of the pandemic. Like women are, you know, we have so much going on. Girls these days are so busy on their phones, social media, school, trying to find a job, trying to get into a college, you know, then what, families, all these pressures. We forget about joy and fun. And I'm like, it's odd story, but I had my physical and the nurses, you know, God bless them for everything that's happened in with the medical field these days. But, you know, they're like, you know, you're sparkly, you're shiny. I'm like, yeah, because it makes me happy.
Yeah, you are.
Like that's, I mean, we have glimmer lotion. We've got like for Stellar Girl, we have, I'll send you some, because I'll send you some for your daughter. This is what we created. I don't always bring it out, but I brought it out today because there was a story with these nurses and they're like, why sparkle? And I go, okay, what do you think of when you look at it? And they're like, it makes me happy. I'm like, that is exactly why it took me 3 years to make this. There's nothing out there. I bought it all, but it makes you happy to put it on. And Stellar Girls always leave a little sparkle behind. So I have this shimmer and the sparkle because it makes me happy, and I wear it every day. Some people wear it, you know, weddings, prom, dances, you know.
And then you share it by leaving it to
the next person.
I love that.
And so I was like, okay, well, here you go. Here's some samples. Like, you know, here you have some of these, but I'll send you some too for your daughter and yourself. And I just think to myself, like, we miss joy. We miss that happiness. We miss to smile. We're so serious at the grocery store. Everyone's got their masks on. We're all just trying to get through and unpack at the car. And where's the joy? So do you find joy in travel? Do you find joy with your family? Like cooking? What's your joy?
I mean, I think to speak to what you're saying, I feel like we've never been more distracted as a society. And we've also never been more obsessed with bad news and with the infiltration. Sort of news has become so ubiquitous that we're just inundated with, right? So it's almost like, I mean, we're not cyborgs, but we don't even know that this is all happening. And we like, all we do is read about bad news or watch, you know, CNN's on all the time. And then we have all these phones and all these gadgets that tell us and ping at us one thing, you know what I mean? So I think it's really a symptom culturally. And then we think, okay, who do I want to be within this? Because this is happening and I can't control it. And to me, it all goes back to presence, really about really reminding yourself, like right now talking with you, like I've turned everything off. Like this is what I want to be, fully and wholly engaged with Teri and hear about her and her hear about me. And I think that brings me joy, is being present. And when I mean, if it's watching a sporting event with my daughter who loves sports, it's like, I turn it all off, and it's hard. I hate people like, oh, that's so easy. Like all those mindfulness people, it's not easy. I'm always kind of looking for my phone. Like I look like I'm like, you know, but then I tell myself, no one's gonna, you know, like you're going to be okay, you know?
Mhm.
And so I think it's presence for me. I'm a huge humor. I love humor. So it's like sitting down and watching Modern Family, like 3
Yes.
episodes in a row.
I wish I could talk like Gloria. I think my life would be so much happier.
I think you are.
If I can't understand a thing she says, no one can understand me. I think my life would be better. I love to laugh. I agree. Like I think community, I watch like, shows on Netflix, like, comics like Jim Gaffigan's one of my favorite. He's relatively clean. Seriously? Do you love him?
He's so real. As he talks about his kids, I'm like, oh my God, can y'all turn him up? He is so real. And he's pretty clean. You're right. He's pretty clean.
Yeah.
I love Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah, but it's good. Like I want to cry laugh. Like we don't cry laugh anymore.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think too, for me, I've been really lucky, and would love to hear even about you, and you mentioned earlier about women, and my core friendships bring me so much joy.
Yes.
We can just all look at each other and just no matter how bad our day is, so we just start laughing.
Yeah.
So.
I know. And I love my girlfriends, and being in where I'm living now in Wisconsin, they're not my like college friends. They're not my, but you know what? They're a phone call away. They're always there to support. And I love how you champion yourself, Elaine. I love that you love women and want to make them feel worthy. And I am so blessed to have met you virtually. I want to thank you so much for being on Speaking Stellar Girl. And I could talk for hours. Maybe maybe I'm going to come to Houston.
I would love for you to come to Houston.
Yes, that would be awesome. So thank you so much. I can't wait for this episode to air so we could all feel inspired. And I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Teri. I appreciate you too. Grateful.
And have a great day.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that bell icon to be notified of new episodes. To learn more about the Stellar Girl movement, please visit us at stellargirl.com.